Hey everyone, welcome to the Faith and Fandom Podcast, Artists Alley Aftermath Edition for Fayetteville Comic Con, October 2023. This is the second Fayetteville Comic Con of the year, and usually has a spooky vibe or something else to that effect, and this year did definitely. And so we're going to talk about how the show went, experiences across the board, and the overall vibe and experience of just being in Artist Alley and all that entails. If you are newish to my stuff, or you're just kind of finding this randomly, my personal reason I'm at a con is because I want to be a encouraging presence / representative of the gospel in a positive light for the geeky community. So if you're a believer and you're looking for a place to be encouraged spiritually in a geeky environment, I want to be there. If you're curious or on the fence, or even not a believer, but you want some place to kind of dig a little bit deeper, I want to kind of help be that as well. And so that's my goal at cons, is to be present, to be able to be that environment, that place for people that are either trying to grow or just curious about where they are in their journey. And I do that through writing geeky Bible studies and having fun geeky Bible study stuff at shows. And so the normal metric people, gauge their con by is, how'd you do financially? How much stuff do you sell? Et cetera, et cetera. And that's rarely ever like my top concern. And I'll be honest, it is Monday night. The show ended on Sunday. I have no idea how much I made. Haven't counted, haven't looked, haven't even unpacked the box with the money in it. It's still in my crates. But I do my best to gauge how well a show is going by conversations, interactions, and opportunities to just connect with people. So that's me. That's my heart. Sorry for the coughing. Let's get into it a little bit. First off, this is a 2-day show. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the kind of slate for setting in and everything. And on Friday, because this was a horror themed show, they did have a showing of Jason Lives, which I believe is 6, with the screenwriter. So that's an interesting pre-party touch. But yeah, that's a good environment for an October Comic Con. I went in Friday, sat up all my gear, and this was the first time setting up my booth with a new book rack, which is much larger. Someone donated it to me to give it a shot, and it worked out well, I think. Because I'm a little bit shorter, it's hard to reach the books on the top shelf. But everybody's not a hobbit, so maybe it'll work well for other people. But one of the things is I put all the geeky devotionals on the lower 2 racks, which is about eye level. And I put all of my not geeky Bible studies up top, just so they wouldn't be direct eye line. But that's like That's What She Said devotional of 5 women in the Bible, or the Balance, the book on Mary and Martha, the travel journal, the youth ministry book, all that stuff was up on the top shelf. And I made a little sign that said, not geeky books, parentheses for muggles. And that just makes me happy that I listed it in that capacity. I'm terrible for dad jokes and puns and stuff, so I do love that. And yeah, so this was also one of the first shows in a while I wanted to cosplay while I was running my booth. I don't like cosplaying and running my booth at the same time because one gets in the way of the other. Either running the booth gets in the way of actually enjoying the cosplay experience, or the cosplay experience gets in the way of effectively doing the booth. And I did see both of these in time. And I ended up wearing a cosplay from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. on Saturday, and the show went until 6. And about 2 p.m., I'm just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with this now. But I was dressed as Mankind from WWE, Mick Foley. And I had a Mankind mask, and then the rest of the costume in Mr. Taco as well. And I will say that one of the best things about wearing a Mankind costume is any stain you add to your costume only improves the authenticity. So if I spill something, food, drink, coffee, beverages, whatever, on my costume, it only makes it more authentic. In fact, somebody commented on one of the photos that my Mr. Sacco looked too clean, which was great. And I did have people that wanted to take photos. There were some wrestling kids that just absolutely loved it. One guy genuinely thought I was Mick Foley for a moment. And I really enjoyed it. It's the first time, I had to leave my booth because people wanted to take photos with me. Loved it. It was great. But one of the things that I saw is that sometimes people get so caught up in seeing the costume they wouldn't bother looking at the booth, which is, again, why I said it gets in the way. Even on that note, though, the costume was also a little scary for kids who didn't recognize who Mankind was. Like, there's a little kid named John that was dressed as John Cena that was just excited for me to take a photo, but then there were other kids that would, like, freak out. I even saw one woman come around the corner, and when she caught my gaze, she's like, "Oh, that's terrifying." So, it's a coin toss. I personally don't recommend cosplaying and running a booth, but for me, that, that's what it is. Another cool cosplay related experience is there was a guy dressed as Tom Baker's doctor from Doctor Who, the fourth Doctor, and he actually had jelly babies, and because that was one of his catchphrases was "care for a jelly baby," and he was very proud that he had real jelly babies, but he was also knocking them, saying they don't taste good. I'm like, dude, I will always be thankful for a jelly baby. I will always be grateful for that. Because I love jelly babies. They're like a weirdly textured gummy bear. But yeah. And, it was a good experience. I'll go ahead and say this, and this is not a knock. This is not an offensive statement and per se to say anything like that. Just an assessment. This was a lower traffic show. I feel like, based on what people were saying and my perception, there was less people at this show than anticipated, and definitely less people at this show than their previous show in April. And, the marketing went less aggressively for this show. And there was also rumor that some of Fort Bragg, or Fort Liberty, which is a nearby military base community, was locked down. I'm not sure if that's accurate. But that was one of the rumors going around because, people want to have a reason why stuff isn't popping more often. But, regardless, you do your best to put on a show and you hope for the best every time. And so with that, attendance was a little light, but at the same time, I wasn't unhappy with what was going on. The Surum family, if I'm saying their name correctly, is a family I've always really enjoyed, and I got to see them literally 2 days before at the Switchfoot concert in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I'll also add into that I posted on my socials that I was going to a Switchfoot concert on Thursday, and that if you found me at the show, I would give you free merch. And so I got to give out the first editions, the very first versions of my new sticker that says "Throw Confetti, Not Shade," and I got to give those out to folks at the Switchfoot concert. In fact, the very first people to get it was the Creech family, so that's really cool. There's some of my con friends, but yeah, it was a little bit lighter show, and the Surum family came through, and at the concert they told me that one of the boys in the family had a button maker, and he asked me if I'd like some buttons, and he made me a not Doctor Who. He made me an Uncle Iroh button, 2 Uncle Iroh buttons, and a Krillin button, which is super dope. But then one of the boys in that family, they're like teenage guys, said that he just always likes coming to my booth because it has a warm and cozy feeling and it's welcoming. So I love getting that experience and getting to do that. And with that, I also got to the point where I have started carrying sketch cards with me to shows, and I'll just sketch and draw because I find that it helps the social anxiety. It helps the low moments where I'm not just looking around anxiously smiling into vague nothingness waiting for somebody to catch my gaze. Like I could just, draw and then look up and hello, hi, welcome to the booth type situation. And so I drew a lot, and I was selling these sketch cards as sketchy bookmarks, and I sold a good amount. I'd say like 15 of them. And from Bluey characters to a Ted Lasso one to a Ron Swanson one. I even had a commission. Someone had me do Muffin, the little cousin dog from Bluey, as the granny on the scooter. And if you look on my socials, you'll see some of the pictures I posted of some of the ones that got purchased. But I had a good time just drawing and sketching and stuff. And so it was just neat. And one of the days, that was just one of the things that really made it cool. There was a young lady, for me, who was dressed as Chopper from One Piece. And I thought it was just a really creative, really well done cosplay. And, she came by the booth, and I just thought it was super neat. Loved how she did her cosplay, and we were talking about One Piece, and she asked who my favorite character was, and I told her it was between Usopp and Chopper. And so she said, to pick one, and I told her choice, and so she had made what appears to be thousands of friendship bracelets. It really does look like thousands. And if you look at her picture on my socials, you'll be able to see it. She had made like thousands of friendship bracelets that all had One Piece phrases. And she was giving people bracelets based on their favorite character. And I just thought that was absolutely darling. I thought that was wonderful. That was a really cool experience. And, I gave her, I was like, take a sticker or something. And I just was grateful. I think she took a VeggieTales sticker. And then the next day I actually sketched a Chopper. And whenever I saw her again, I went and gave it to her. But just really appreciated the heart and the effort that she put into it. And she's a dope cosplayer in general. But I just thought it was a really neat experience. Tied to that, not directly, but in the same timing of the show, also had a really negative experience. Right after I was finishing up talking to the young cosplayer dressed as Chopper, there was another cosplayer who was very nasty in his attitude and was very negative and was very vocal that he wanted to make it clear that he was upset, or at least chuffed, that we were there, that Faith and Fandom was there. And that thing people do where if you say something and people ignore you, or it doesn't get the response you want, that you just say it again but maybe a little bit louder. Well, he did that, but he did that trying to say something really, really offensive about Jesus. Now, his word choicing in his offensive statement about Jesus was incredibly creative. It struck me as something very Kevin Smith to Ryan Reynolds-esque in his statement. And here's the thing. I don't think I can, in good conscience, say it here in a recorded fashion, because it could be offensive in a lot of ways. But he said this really, really offensive statement, this name for Jesus that he had, and he said it, and you could tell the whole people group that he was with ignored him. So then he said it again louder, and they continued to ignore him. But I just was trying to make eye contact with him, but he wouldn't look at me, even though he was literally 4 feet from me. And I was just staring him right down. And in fact, he spent the rest of the weekend like avoiding eye contact with me, because he knew that he was trying to be super offensive. And listen, you can not believe in Jesus and you can have a disagreement about who he is, but it's just like when you go out of your way to be ugly, you're just making yourself look bad. And I was hoping to have a conversation with him because the young man's comments also not only borderline on spiritually offensive or offensive to Christian culture, but it also got racial and ugly in that capacity. And so I think it was not only offensive to believers, but also in a racial connotation. But yeah, I'm not going to say what he called him here. If you're listening to this and you want to know, you can message me or call me and we'll talk about it. But yeah, it was creative. And there was a church member of mine who was at the con selling Pokemon cards. And when it was over, I talked to him about it and I told him, and he said, "No, dude, you need to make a comic book with that title." And I just don't think I couldn't in good conscience. I love edgy things every now and again. This just seems dangerous. Like, oh no, that's horrible life choice. But everybody's not going to love what we do. But on the flip side, some people do. And one of those people, there was a mom that came through, and before the mom, there were people that came up and they were going to be running small groups and they wanted to use our stuff for small groups, help make connections with that. I love that. And then there was one where I had, and one of the stickers that got my most interactions this weekend, which I'm glad I made it, it says you can love God and anime. And one mom came up and she saw that and she said, "Why I won't let my daughter watch anime." But then the whole conversation turned and we started talking about what Faith and Fandom was and, about parenting and supporting your kids and stuff like that. And, I just thought that was interesting. And she ended up, picking up a book and maybe a shirt. I think got a shirt too. But one of the things was, she wanted to use this as a way to connect with her child. And then I got a message first thing this morning. She said, "It was so awesome to connect with you. My girl is finally excited to do a Bible study." And then she went on to say, "The Lord is never without his witnesses. Thanks for being a light. It made my day." So she sent me that message or that comment on Facebook. And then a little while later, she DM'd me and started asking, good parenting questions, talking about how to help with anime, what's good, things like that. It was really neat. So I think that kind of, it was a lot of the first day. Days kind of blend in there together. After the first day, I took my kids to go see the Taylor Swift concert because I want to be supportive of my oldest daughter and her love of her music. And so we watched a 3-hour Taylor Swift concert. I was after a full day at a con. I don't recommend it. Not that I don't recommend the Taylor concert. If you enjoy Taylor, have fun. It is a spectacle of production, and I appreciate that. But I don't recommend doing a full day of con, then doing that. That was not a wise life choice. Got up early Sunday morning, helped prep stuff for church at home, and then headed out to the con. And my daughter Carmen was with me the whole weekend too. She is a delightful human to have as a con companion. And she was always excited about things and being a part of stuff. But one of the first things I sold on Sunday morning was 2 sketches, and then the lady tipped me $1 for a sketch, and I just thought it was super cool. And then the next person that bought books or something tipped me as well. And I was like, what's happening? Why am I getting so many tips today? Sunday was a better day for me in terms of sales and for conversations, for getting to connect with people. And, but it was good. I also did Nerd Slam on Saturday, fun experience there as always. But just getting to talk to people and connect with people, and, I appreciated it. One thing that was neat was, I was supposed to do the second Nerd Slam on Sunday and with LJ, and I ended up not doing it because since he was doing horror stuff, he wanted to have, pre-chosen categories with all the questions listed out, because normally with Nerd Slam we try and let people pick whatever category they're most comfortable with, but with the horror he wanted it to be limited because it was their first time doing it. And so I ended up staying at my booth, and my daughter went to go watch it. And as I am sitting at the booth, a cosplayer dressed like Dark Link, I believe, came up to the booth and was looking at stickers, and then said, as she saw the sticker that said "You can love God in anime," again, it got its money's worth, and she said, "Oh, this is a Christian thing," and you could tell she was kind of trepidatious and like very cautionary after that. And she was there about 45 minutes from that point on. And she spent about 40 minutes sharing about trauma, sharing about church hurt, sharing about fears, sharing about anxiety, sharing about struggles. And as like things were starting to get like kind of just heavy, she said that I'm sorry for trauma dumping. I was like, listen, if there's any place at the con you should be able to do that, it should be here. And she stuck her hand out, like she held her hand out like she was going to shake my hand. So I reached out and I took her hand, and she looked at me and she said, "I'm trusting you to be safe." Because what she was saying is, I am going to share more of my story, and I need to know that I can trust you not to hurt me. And I thought that was really important. That meant a lot to me, to even have that opportunity. And it was one of those, okay, if there's anything I'm here for, if there's any reason I am at this show in the first place, it's for this. And I talked to this young lady the whole time, and she had a past and has some struggles, and she's in some different directions that a lot of people would be aggressive towards. And I was happy to be able to be a loving presence in that capacity. And because, I asked her what her favorite thing was, and she told me Zelda, and she told me about, just how much she's loved Zelda her whole life. So I gave her book 4, because it has the Breath of the Wild chapter in it. And I also gave her It's Dangerous to Go Alone sticker that we have. And she was really just grateful for that. And, it was just really good conversation. Again, if the whole weekend was just for that opportunity, it would have been worth it. But just like that moment of her sticking out her hand and reaching it out to me and saying, "I'm trusting you to be safe," that's kind of seared in my brain. Because I think a lot of people have those moments, they just don't say it out loud. And in the process of her talking about trauma and healing and stuff, I was telling her about, she mentioned something about a video game about trauma, and I mentioned the game Gris, Gris. It's one of my favorite games, and it's about somebody's somebody's journey going through their own brokenness and trauma to be able to heal and to be able to get whole and to grow. And as we were talking about it, she made the point to say, well, just like the game, you are in control of your own healing. That it doesn't matter how much stuff is broken around you, you have to be the one to actually navigate your healing. And I just thought that was beautiful. And yeah, I've played that game forever and never connected that dot. Just thought it was really neat. So, conversation with a mom and a conversation with this young cosplayer stemming out of the You Can Love God and Anime sticker. Super grateful for it. Now, even the mom that I talked to was not a fan of the You Can Love God and Anime sticker. It just started the conversation. She didn't want her kid invested in anime because anime can be a big sketchy subculture for some people. But I talked to her a lot about, good anime and, things like Your Lie in April and My Hero Academia and Studio Ghibli and stuff like that. But it's a lot about discernment and discretion. And then as we were packing up throughout the day, there was the DJ who had been DJing the whole weekend in the show. And I've DJ'd this show. I know how demanding that is. The DJ who had been DJing the whole show came by my booth and got really invested in the VeggieTales stickers. And we just had a conversation about VeggieTales and the importance of it. And, and he told me, you need a sticker of God made you special and he loves you very much. And I've never, in the whole time that I've made these stickers or even VeggieTales ones, thought about making that sticker. So I've designed a sticker in my mind. I got to execute it now. But also, it made me really think, man, VeggieTales nailed it with that one statement of God made you special and he loves you very much. How solid of a statement, of a message to leave behind with kids is that? I think it really is something potent and powerful, and I'm really glad that it's out there. And if the fact that that's what somebody can remember, I'm looking forward to having that at the booth once I get it made. Robert Mukes, who is a big burly actor from things like Westworld and House of a Thousand Corpses and stuff like that, he came and told me, or I walked by his booth and he told me that I was a good dad because he had been watching my interactions with my daughter. So I'll count that as a win for my daughter to, just for some random actor to be watching how I interact with my kid and think I'm doing a good job. I'll count that as a win. Also, Heather Masrado, I can't remember her name properly. Let me look this up. It's the lady from Princess Diaries, and Scream 3. She had an interaction with my daughter I really appreciated. Her name's Heather Matarazzo. She, my daughter went to just go say, hey, I enjoyed you in Scream 3. Or not Scream 3, but in Princess Diaries. And my daughter came back with a list of books that were her favorite books to read as a child. And I was like, that's weird. Why did you get that? And she, but I thought it was cool. And I was like, that's kind of cooler than an autograph. And, so I went by Heather Matarazzo's table to tell her thank you. And she said, oh yeah, I asked your daughter if she liked school and she said no. So I gave her some books to read. I was like, oh, she loves to read. She just hates work. And I was like, she's on Battle of the Books and Robotics Team and all that jazz. But, I really appreciate that. And she says, I always try and ask kids if they like to read and try and encourage them and stuff. And so I just thought it was really neat that this actor was going out of their way and taking their time to make sure my kid was reading. So, again, I just think that's cool. One of my favorite things I got out of the whole weekend was there is a crochet booth making crochet stuffed animals and stuff. And I walked over and they had some one-piece ones and I thought they were really neat. And I told them about the Chopper cosplayer. And, he said that, nobody likes Usopp. And I was like, oh, I love Usopp. And Usopp was probably my favorite character until I got to Chopper. I don't like him less than Chopper, but it's close up there. And I said that Usopp's Rubber Band of Doom is one of my favorite things. It's from early on when they're doing the Arlong Park arc of their Usopp is in danger and he's trying to fight off someone he's greatly outmatched against, and he pulls out a rubber band and tries to hype it up as being a big weapon and just says Usopp's Rubber Band of Doom. doom, and then just shoots the guy with the rubber band and runs away. And I love that. And the guy tells me that he plays a card game like Pokemon, but with One Piece characters, and he had an extra Usopp's Rubber Band of Doom card. And it is sitting on my desk right now. I took a picture of it. It's one of my favorite things. This is going to stay on my desk forever. But I love it. And so later at my booth, I also sketched an Usopp for that guy. I'm not saying it was great, but it was a good experience overall. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I had a great time just getting to be there to do the experience. I love being at my local show. Fayetteville is my local show outside of mine. On a positive note, a lot of vendors and artists that were at my show in October or September came up to let me know that they loved my show in September. And I say this with no shade, no knocks, no negatives. They said that they did just as well or better at my show than they did at the Saturday show here. And I just, I thought that was dope. I was grateful that not only did people enjoy it, that it was good for them, but also, I'm grateful for Fayetteville because Fayetteville puts on a big show and they do a good show. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a part of it. Looking over just the photos from the weekend and check out some stuff before I wrapped up. Let's see. By the way, my Chopper bracelet that I got from the Chopper cosplayer says "not food," which is great. If you know Chopper storyline, it's pretty funny. There was a great Dark Deku, which is, if you are looking at the chapters for book 9 in Faith and Fandom, there's a chapter about that guy. There was a Buggy the Clown that was pretty great. I also took a picture of a guy from American Psycho, and then you can see the Not Geeky books for Muggles sign. There's a wonderful Anakin and Ahsoka cosplayer that were at Fayetteville, but were also at Greenville. And when I was sick and could barely breathe and was having a bad day, they were very encouraging. There was a Bert and Ernie cosplay that was fantastic. And also, if you look through our socials, my daughter Carmen, because I'd spent the whole weekend sketching, my daughter Carmen wanted to sketch me, and she hates it, but she just did this really amazing sketch of me. It's amazing as a parent, and I think it's pretty great. There's also a Great Miles, a Lady Dimitrescu. There's one pile that you can see of one person bought a whole pile of my sketches at once, and I just thought it was pretty neat. And then Dinny Shop Art also posted some of the sketches that they bought for me. I was grateful. But there's a lot of One Piece cosplayers, and here's the thing. I don't know if there are always this many One Piece cosplayers, or I'm just now noticing it because I've actually started watching One Piece. Either way, it's good. But yeah, that's Fayetteville Comic Con. That's officially my last con of the year. I was invited to do a market at a school, and I might also have a Christmas market coming up as well in November. But before I go, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters and the people that just pour into Faith and Fandom and help make it possible. Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Tesh Norton, Scott Ward, Alicia Benson, Candace Davis, Jay Sheed, Jillian, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Chris Poirier, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. All y'all are fantastic, and you've helped make Faith and Fandom just what it is, and all that God does with it beyond my understanding and ability. So I just want to say thanks for doing what you do. It helps allow me to do what I do, and I'm incredibly grateful for you. Fayetteville, thank you for putting on another great show. LJ, thanks for being a great host. I love seeing some of my friends in Artist Alley. I had a great spot for the show this year, right by the Dippin' Dots and right across from the celebrities. So, solid spot, It was just a good show. And I got a message Sunday afternoon from one of the volunteers at my church that said, "Hey, I know you're probably tired. If you want me to sub for youth for you, I will." And I was like, honestly, I've had a delightful day just sitting here sketching and talking to people. This is probably the most rested I've been on a Sunday ever. But it was a good show, and I'm looking forward to all that God has in store for us in the year to come. I also got invited to be at a show in January. So we'll see what's up. But thanks for listening, and I hope to see you soon in Artist Alley.